This here's Professor U.D. Guru coming to you from southern Mindanao. We got a big show planned for today. It's another serious topic. Covoodoo. You all know what voodoo is. The use of trance-induced hysteria or even mass hysteria to manipulate targeted people toward an unfortunate end, to put it simply. Here's a quick example, and I apologize in advance for making you watch this. Watching this guy is kind of like, when you get furniture tacks stuck in your throat and can't quite cough them up. But this won't take long because he's very clear about his plans for Donald Trump's first term, which was to begin 10 days after he gave this speech. So here it is.
Given, as you heard from the introduction, that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure of serving in 5 administrations, I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak.
My movie here today is about the overreaction to COVID, which I call Covoodoo, partly because saying COVID on social media used to get you whacked in one way or another, which it did. I was censored twice on Facebook for saying, what did I say? I said ivermectin. Because I was talking about how I use ivermectin for my dogs, and they censored the post twice. 2 different posts. But now that I'm on X.com, I'm not afraid to say COVID anymore, but I still prefer to say Covoodoo because it's more meaningful and accurate. So, my introduction to the COVID overreaction was my first day of actually going to town, because I live 5 kilometers from town in the big island of Mindanao, largest island in the Philippines. I'd seen a little bit, heard a little bit, but I wasn't really following the news much at this time, but I don't remember exactly how I heard about it, but somebody was talking about COVID-19 or coronavirus or whatever. I recall the first time I got to town, I had a mask in my pocket because my wife made me take it. And when I got off the motorcycle, because I ride a motorcycle to town, I go to the corner and stand on the corner and wait for someone to give me a ride because I don't have a car anymore. I don't want to drive here for reasons that I will explain in another movie. So when I got off the motorcycle and started crossing the street to go to the park, some guy hollered at me, "Corona!" which I knew what he was saying. He was saying, put on your mask, but I didn't care. It was my first time to town. I didn't know how serious this overreaction was going to be. I assumed that I still had rights to, like carry a mask in my pocket and only put it on when I was around people, stuff like that. So I went to 7-Eleven and got a cup of coffee and then went back to the park and sat down. I noticed the park was empty except for 3 or 4 people sweeping up leaves or something. So I found a nice abandoned area. There wasn't anybody within 100 yards or whatever. I can't judge distances, but I was a long way from anybody. And I had a cup of coffee, so I kind of wanted to drink my coffee. One of those things. I'm kind of like that in a way. And I figured, well, am I supposed to put my mask on and drink it through the mask? And I said to myself, well, I kind of doubt that they expect you to do that. And since coffee hasn't been illegalized yet, I figured, well, what the heck? There's nobody around. There's nobody in shouting distance of me, practically. Definitely no one in talking distance of me. So I'm sitting there drinking my coffee, and I see some guy. He's sweeping leaves or whatever, and he puts down his rake or his broom. They use a broom here. And he starts walking towards me, and he starts hollering at me, "Put on your mask, put on your mask." And I ignored him because, I can always play ignorant, play dumb, and act like I don't know what he's talking about. Because for all he knows, I might be German and don't understand any English. Of course, all Germans speak English, but that's beside the point. So he gets over close to me, like 10 feet away from me. He says, "Where's your mask?" I said, "It's in my pocket." I said it in a certain tone of voice that indicated to him that he should go away, which he did. But that was my overreaction introduction. Later that day, I went to the place where I like to buy vegetables, which is a large area. You walk in and walk down the street, and you can walk out of this area at the other end of the market. And it's like 3 blocks long or something. Except this time they had it blocked off, and I couldn't go in. They said, "You have to go around. You go in the other end." Now here's something that happened a lot in the Philippines. Nonsensical rules that have nothing to do with anything. But they did it, and so I said, "Hell with this." Almost said a bad word, but hell with this, I'm going over to the other market. So I went to the other market, the wet market, where they sell vegetables and fruits and meats and fish and stuff. The smelly one, I don't like to go there because it's smelly and it's overly crowded. I don't really like the built-up smell of fresh fish that builds up over the years. Not my cup of tea, but I went there anyway. And I got there, and there was a car going in through the place where they hold up a rope, and then when a car shows up, they let the rope down so the car can drive over the rope and go in. And I just followed the car in, walking in. I saw the place where you're supposed to be funneled in, and I saw the sign, but this is the Philippines. I mean, rules are made to be ignored here, oftentimes, not always. But I figure I'll give it a shot because I don't like being corralled, especially for no reason. I don't know, I suppose I probably had my mask on by then because I put it on after I drank my coffee, knowing that I was apparently going to be challenged if I didn't. But I saw the place where they were expecting people to be corralled in and then step on a dirty, wet little rug, which was like filthy from people stepping on it, and apparently it had some sort of, Lysol or something on it. But I just walked in after this car and kept going, act innocent, play dumb like you would if you could get away with not being treated like an animal. Kept going, and then I heard somebody running up behind me, and this kid run up. I shouldn't say kid because he's at least 20. Run up behind me and, "Sir, sir, sir," and he grabbed me and kind of spun me around and pointed to the entrance, said I had to go back and go in the right way. And I said, "Don't touch me." He stopped touching me. I don't like being grabbed by somebody I've never seen. Could be a holduper, pickpocket, could be anything. Government stooge is bad enough. This is like one of the first days of the COVID overreaction. I had seen them actually spraying the tires and bottom side of cars that were going in with some sort of pesticide that you could smell. It was like, okay. So I expected an overreaction. I didn't overreact too much, but I did say in a firm tone of voice, "Don't touch me." He took his hands off me, and he was pushing me by the back of my shoulder back toward the entrance, which was, about like maybe, 100 feet away. Because that's how long I ignored them when I first walked in. So he took his hand off me, and I walked out the way I came and then went back in the right way and stepped on the filthy, wet rug that somebody had dumped some Lysol or something on earlier. It we saw these filthy little rugs at the entrance to malls and things for a long time. And then when I was done with my shopping, I headed back out, and they wouldn't let me go back out that entrance. I had to walk through the whole market. This takes up a few city blocks. I had to walk through the whole market back out the out entrance. They had improvised an in and out entrance, same as the other market that I tried the first time. Well, I'm not going to complain too much. It was a long time ago, and I'm just trying to describe the overreaction to COVID, and I'll have more to say about why this happens more in the Philippines than it does in America, for example, and I'll have more to say about that. Here is what I consider to be the prototype or the mold that they made COVID overreaction out of. This is the mold. This is like the prototypical sighting. I was walking along the street on a two-lane road, a busy two-lane road. There's lots of traffic on this road. And here comes this pickup, driving fast and pulling another pickup with a rope. So obviously things that are usually not done in America anymore, except obviously maybe in a rural place, but this is on a city street, and it's a busy city street. And the guy that's pulling the other truck, the driver, is in a hurry, and he's passing other cars, weaving in and out of his lane to pass everybody he can on a busy street. Sounds dangerous, right? Sounds downright stupid, right? Very dangerous. Totally illegal. And in the back of the second pickup is a motorcycle, standing up, not lying down, but standing up. And sitting on the motorcycle is a man. So we got a pickup pulling another pickup with a rope, driving fast, passing cars, weaving in and out of his lane, with a motorcycle standing up in the back of the back pickup. Sitting on the motorcycle is a man, basically holding the motorcycle up with his feet because it would have flopped over by now due to the driver's erratic behavior. And the man is, this is the good part, wearing a mask to be safe. That is my prototypical portrait of the COVID overreaction, the nonsensical COVID overreaction. The nonsensical part of it especially. I tell you, there was so much nonsense going on. Basketball was no longer allowed. Last I heard, basketball was a non-contact sport, but much worse than that, flying kites was not allowed. Flying kites, where children stand as far apart from each other as possible so their kites don't get tangled up with each other. I mean, give me a break. The local authorities had a field day. They suddenly turned into official government enforcers, and they had all kinds of power to go around saying no to this and no to that, and by golly, they practiced their new authority with glee. At this time, the children in my neighborhood, they were just all obsessed with making and flying kites. Obsessed with it. It was like the only thing they were thinking about. And my son was one of these people. I was helping him make his kites, going to town, buying the materials, and helping him make them, helping him fly them. He needed a longer course, so I helped him invent a crank thing, a spool with a crank on it, so he could have like a mile of nylon line for his kite, so I could go to the moon. And it was a big deal. They were at it for months or weeks. It's just a total obsession. All the boys and some of the girls in my neighborhood were doing this at the same time. It was everything to these kids. And along comes Covoodoo, And the local enforcer said no more kites. Okay, so what happened at this point? All the children turned to their cell phones, their smartphones, and they still haven't looked up. That was 4 years ago. They still haven't looked up from their smartphones. This is 4 years later. They're now hopelessly addicted. They kind of were anyway, but they kind of weren't compared to now. Where I live in the Philippines, old people were no longer allowed in grocery stores. And I was, let's see, I'm 68 now, so I was about 64, and there was signs saying, well, depending on the store, you couldn't go in if you're over 60, 64, 65. The school, my son's school, had a sign out front saying you can't go in here if you're 60 or more. So, I mean, I'd go in, I'd say, well, I'm 59. So I look like a teenager still, so I'd get away with it. And I recall a couple of times in one certain grocery store, I was over the limit, whatever it was. And the security guard said I couldn't go in. So I didn't beat the holy hell out of the security guard, which I kind of felt like doing, but you can't do that. It doesn't really send the right message. So I just got loud, verbally aggressive, in a very, not very, very verbally aggressive, but just loud enough to draw attention, because then the guard would have to think, is this worth it? I mean, the guy's a few months over the line. He's a white guy. He's going to get a lot of attention. The guard let me in. I did my grocery shopping. Here, the guard's question was, what are you going to buy? Oh, why do people go in grocery stores? Does he want to see my list or what? Cheapers, creepers. Of course, we were shut out of movie theaters because I didn't get vaccinated. My son had to get vaccinated to continue going to school. He had to get vaccinated twice. He still has to show that vaccination card some places. It was 4 years ago. But yeah, we couldn't go to movie theaters anymore because I couldn't go with him. He could go in by himself, but he didn't want to. And we're still shut out of movie theaters. I am, 4 years later, which is fine because the movies they're making are getting worse every year. And we have Netflix. If we want to watch a bad movie, we can always do it on Netflix. Meanwhile, in America, almost everyone in my extended family got COVID, and they were all masked, double masked, social distance, hand scrubbed, face shields, hand scrubbed with antibacterial soap, multiply vaccinated. They all got COVID. Some of them got COVID twice. Okay. I don't know anybody in the Philippines who actually got COVID. Antibacterial soap is... We've been re-educated to not trust or believe in or even think about natural immunity. Antibacterial soap, it doesn't make any sense. The human race survived for jillions of years without it. Now what? Yeah, I could talk about soap for a long time, but let's just keep moving here. I recall when I was antibacterial soap is the opposite of a vaccine. Put it that way. It tells your when you get rid of all your little beasties, which are actually part of our body, even though they're not human, they're still part of our body. It's like telling your immune system, nothing going on here, nothing to see, nothing to do, just go to sleep. Okay? When I was a child, mothers used to say, well, I have a kid with the measles or the mumps or chicken pox or whatever, so I took his water glass and I give it to all the other kids and made them all drink out of it because I want them all get it at the same time, get it over with. This was not something I heard once. It's something I heard all the time. This is how it was done. You want them all to get sick and get it over with, so you go back to real normal life. Because most of these things you get it once and you're never going to get it again. It's called natural immunity or something like that. I'm no doctor. Don't listen to me, but I'm just telling you how things were done when I was a kid. Before they had 350 different vaccines your little tiny baby is supposed to get all at the same time. Hope they survive it. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. If you want to get a vaccine, go ahead. I don't care. But I didn't get a vaccine because I knew it wasn't a vaccine. Vaccines require years of development and lots of testing. These COVID vaccines were not vaccines. They were tools of pharmacies, tools to inject tools with, put it that way. I believe it was Pfizer or somebody made $44 billion of profit in the first year or something of the so-called pandemic. I call it the extended flu season, but I know COVID was a serious disease. I'm not disputing that. Okay, even before COVID here in the Philippines, my brother-in-law who was dying of diabetes, this is before COVID, my brother-in-law was dying of diabetes, a diabetic smoker, and he's only a few years older than me. He was in his early 60s. But I went to the hospital in a big city. I traveled for an hour to go there and went to the hospital to see him in ICU, and nobody was allowed into the ICU. His wife, maybe his kids, nobody else. Now, why is this? Because of two reasons. Why? Number one, here in the Philippines, nurses and doctors are arrogant because anyone who has a job in the Philippines is considered an authority figure. That's because like every third person, every fourth person has a job, and they use their almost a salary, sort of a salary. They barely get paid, and they use that they spread it around their family and keep everybody from dying of starvation. And everybody gets a smartphone and some nice clothes and food, and that's about it. A motorcycle, maybe. You see 6 people on a motorcycle. So anybody who has a job, a girl who takes your money in the store, 19-year-old girl who takes your money in the store, they'd probably 22 because you have to get a college degree to be a checkout girl in a store or a dishwasher or a waitress or something, unless your uncle owns the restaurant. Anybody who has a job is an authority figure, and some of them are very condescending just because, do you have it? Do you have this? Oh no. So you go look for it yourself and find it on the shelf because they're just trying to get rid of me. I can't imagine why. Number 2 reason, people bring their whole family to the hospital, and the staff can't handle that many people in the ICU, so they make these blanket rules, and then they're like enforced. And this was even before COVID. So the ICU doesn't allow some brother-in-law to go see his dying brother-in-law. I saw my sister-in-law out in the hall, and she said, "Well, I'll help you. I'll try to get him to let you in." And I said, "Oh, never mind. It just causes trouble." So I told her, say goodbye to my brother-in-law for me. So during COVID, my other sister-in-law's husband, who was in his late 70s, was sick and got different results to every COVID test. They gave him like 3 COVID tests, and the results were different for each one, which really makes you respect that COVID test. Like, okay, I'm going to let somebody shove a Q-tip up my nose halfway into my head every time I do anything that involves a hospital. I did avoid hospitals for the most part for a long time, but that's usually where you go. That's where the clinic is. Go to the outpatient clinic inside the hospital. So I had to go once. I'll tell you that story. It was a pretty interesting story. But my brother-in-law, by the time they actually got around to dicking around with testing it for COVID and blah, 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 all this rigmarole, by the time they actually got around to trying to figure out what was actually wrong with him, well, it was too late because he was already dead. And I had a friend, a neighbor, you say, didn't know the guy, but a neighbor who was sick. I didn't know he was sick until one night I'm lying in bed. He lives maybe 100 yards from me. I've been to his house maybe once. I'm laying in bed. I have to get up and pee every night several times. And so in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning or whatever, I hear somebody groaning loudly. Because, it's not the house next door. It's the house next door the other direction, which is the neighbors, as opposed to my wife's family, who all live next door to me. But this is maybe 100 yards away or 100 feet away or something. I can't judge distances, but more than 100 feet, maybe 200 feet, I don't know. I hear somebody groaning. I later found out that he'd been sick for a while, very sick, and it just goes on and on and on. And then I heard an ambulance show up. Then I heard the ambulance leave. But he's still there and he's still groaning loudly, and it's just getting worse. We're not friends or close friends. I didn't go over there. It's nothing I can do. And I got up the next morning. My wife said, yeah, Dodong died last night because his wife didn't have any. Dodong had been laid off from his job because of the COVID overreaction. A lot of businesses just closed temporarily, but people need to eat. And Dodong had no money. His wife sent the ambulance away because there's no money for a ambulance or for a visit to the hospital. After that, my friend Willie, who's a very friendly and happy, nice person who lives next door, well, another neighbor, but lives much further away. I didn't know he was sick either, but what happened in his case, he's a drinker. He's a drinker. You might call him an alcoholic. I don't really know him that well to where I could say whether or not he could be called an alcoholic, but he probably is. He liked to drink and sing karaoke all night. Willie wasn't sick. He went to get his vaccination, but he's a pretty much alcoholic, I'd say. And after the vaccination, he got a headache, and he took a tablet for it. Headache didn't go away, so he took another tablet. It never went away, and Willie died of headache tablets, basically. He had a headache for 2 weeks, and he died from taking too many headache tablets. That was caused by the vaccination directly. I went to the vigil that they have when somebody dies, and his wife, that's all she could talk about, the vaccination, because that's when the headache started. And there was a 17-year-old girl related to my wife, lived down the street a ways, who was pregnant. She was, I guess, 5 or 6 months pregnant. And she got a vaccine, unfortunately, and because of that, she had a miscarriage. Now, I'm not claiming that I'm making a scientific argument here, but she has a vaccination, she has a miscarriage the same day or the next day, I think we can put two or two together. What does new normal mean in the Philippines? I'm going to start reading my notes here. The problem is that poor Asian countries ape the West, but they don't know when the West is wrong or where to draw the line, and they don't understand the notion that rich white countries could even be wrong, since these Asian countries, I'm talking about the Philippines mainly, have an authoritarian culture. So they accept the West as an infallible authority, either infallible or the devil, depending. I mean, some of them hate us, some of them love us, but in either case, they consider us an authority figure. So the ones in charge, anyway, the authorities here, take our warnings about things like COVID, triple them just to be safe. Not that they understand them that well. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying that they don't necessarily understand the science. I mean, who does? So they take our warnings about COVID, triple them for good measure, double the result again just to be safe, and end up with permanent rules that mean nothing to nobody but become part of life that will never go away. That's what new normal means here in the Philippines. That's what it means to me. As a non-authoritarian living in the Philippines, where you can still be required to wear a mask from time to time, and a lot of people are addicted to wearing masks. They still won't take them off, especially people who handle money in stores and stuff like that. What happened when I got sick and had to go to the hospital during the Covoodoo overreaction? One day I got some chocolate ice cream and brought it home and ate a bunch of it, probably too much, but I mean, I didn't eat the whole box. I shared it with my family, you know what I mean? We ate us some chocolate ice cream. And later on, I went to bed, and I noticed that I had a pain somewhere in my abdomen or back or something. I can't remember exactly where the pain was. I tried to forget it. And I thought, well, that's and one of those aches and pains you get when you're 64 or 65 years old. But it kept getting worse, and I thought, I'll just ignore it. It'll go away. But it kept getting worse, and pretty soon I'm like writhing around in the bed and stuff, And I figure, oh, what the heck? I might as well tell my wife that I'm in a lot of pain, since we do live together and stuff, and maybe she would want to know. So I told her, and here comes my son. What's going on? I got pain, and it kept getting worse and worse. And I am not the sort of person that will puke, spew, or vomit lightly. I hate it because there's this like valve that you have to kind of, it hurts when it first comes up. I just hate it, and I don't like the taste either. I don't know. I mean, that's just me. Yeah. But yeah, I said, go get the bucket. Get the bucket. I'm gonna puke because the pain was that bad. Maybe it's fear that causes that. I don't know, but I have never puked from pain before. I was not nauseous at all. Not even a little bit. Just a pain. Just one pain somewhere inside my gut. Not in my butt. I meant to say gut. Here comes that ice cream and whatever else. I don't think it was anything I ate but I still don't know. But I'll tell you what happened when I went to the hospital, because this was during COVID. After I puked 6 more times, my wife said, well, maybe we should go to the hospital, like right now. Okay, let's go. I did not want to go to the hospital during COVID. So my brother-in-law has a car, and we got in the car, and he took us to the hospital. I got 8 brothers-in-law. Not counting the 2 that died, there's actually 6 left. One of them lives next door. 2 of them live, well, 3 of them. 2 of them live next door. 3. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we get to the hospital, and they set me down in a wheelchair outside, and there's a whole bunch of people there because as many family members as possible go to the hospital with you. The car was full, and now they're all gathered around me, holding up my wheelchair. And this hospital is understaffed. Actually, they closed it already, but at that time it was still open. It went bankrupt for some reason. There's one guy working an outpatient department. He's underexperienced. There's no doctor. And this nurse guy won't let me in. He's asking 20 questions to try and determine if I have COVID. I don't have any COVID symptoms. I don't have a cold. I don't have the flu. I don't have sneezing. I don't have... Nothing's dripping out of my nose. I'm not coughing. I don't have a sore throat. And after he asked all the questions, while I'm sitting here going... After he asked all the questions, he asked them all again. Okay, so finally they let me in. And there's the emergency room on the right, which is one room with like 3 beds in it. There's one guy, and I lay up on the table, and he's going to give me a heart test. What do they call it? EKG. So I'll take my shirt off. I got like a very hairy chest, and he's freaking out because this stuff won't stick. They try to stick all these things on my chest, and the stuff won't stick. And they don't have a razor because Filipinos don't have body hair. There are not a lot of body hairs on most Filipinos, especially on the chest. I've seen some people with slightly hairy legs, but still not a lot on the chest. They don't have a razor in this hospital. They don't have a doctor in this hospital. Fortunately, the pain is actually subsiding. Finally, a doctor showed up. A hospital with no doctor in it. Yeah, well, welcome to the Philippines. And the doctor's sitting as far away from me as he can and still be in the same room. Pretty much asking the same questions over again. And I tell him, well, the pain has gone. The pain just disappeared completely, 100%, and never came back. But they think I should be admitted. I stayed for 3 days, no pain, no symptoms of anything. There's a lady doctor shows up, and she comes to my room covered from head to toe. I can't even tell you what she looked like. I didn't see her face. Hands covered, feet covered, wearing a long gown, hair covered, eyes covered, everything covered. And I'm trying to explain to her what my lifestyle is like and what my diet is like, what I eat, what I drink. Well, she's backing towards the door. And finally she said, look it up on the internet, and left. And I had to pay $150 for that. Okay, so that's the short version. The pain never did come back. Probably will now. She did say that maybe where you were passing a stone or something, which is possible. I don't know. And then during the second year of the COVID overreaction, Covoodoo, I should say, I cured constipation by taking up a habit of making and drinking kefir every day. And there's a whole movie about that if you want to watch it. It's a good movie. When I first started drinking kefir, once I got it up to, I mean, you're not supposed to start drinking a lot of it all at once. You work up to it. Once I was drinking it 2 or 3 times a day, I started getting sick. I started catching cold once a month for several months in a row. But I never got tested. This had happened before. This happened when I first moved to the Philippines. I'd catch a bad cold once a month. I'd get over it for a week and catch another one. This happened for like 2 or 3 years when I first came here. So I didn't freak out about it. I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't get tested for COVID. I never got tested for COVID. I did change my habit as far as drinking kefir. I started washing my throat out after I drank the kefir. Because it leaves a glob in your throat, and you have to cough that up and then wash your throat out with water. Drink some water. I never leave kefir in my throat anymore because stuff might grow there. I don't know if that was the problem. I'm not a doctor, if you can't tell. Here's a question. What happens when you have the common cold or the flu and you can't breathe through your nose? You close your mouth. You're tired of breathing through your mouth, right? You close your mouth and you try to breathe through your nose. And what happens? Well, I don't know about you, but I feel panic, fear, intense fear. I got my mouth closed. My nose is closed involuntarily. I hate that. It makes me very afraid. So what do? Obviously, you open up your mouth, or you try to take some antihistamines, or you put Vicks all over your nose, something. But definitely, you breathe through your mouth because you don't want to die. The perpetrators of COVID understand us better than we understand ourselves. They know what happens to us psychologically when we can't breathe through our nose because it's happened to them. They know about this. They know about fear. They study fear. They know more about us than we know about ourselves. And what happens when our children are sick or when our pets are sick? We go to the doctor. The other day, one of my dogs had to get stitches. She had a 3-inch long tear in her skin on her belly for some reason. She must have snagged a nail or something. So, of course, she got like 20 stitches or whatever. And the vet overprescribed all kinds of stupid medicines that were not needed. And did I question her prescriptions? No. My dog has her belly skin sliced open, 3-inch long gash. I didn't question anything till I got home, and then I gave her the betadine, the ointment, and the antibiotic, and threw the rest of that crap away, even though I just bought it. I didn't throw it away, but I still have it, but I didn't use it. Why did I even buy all that unnecessary medicine? Because when we're afraid, we're easily manipulated. We want someone to tell us what to do. We will accept the word of an authority and do what we're told because we don't want to be responsible for someone getting sick or even dying. A lot of folks would have taken all the prescribed medicine, but once I got away from the doctor, the panic subsided because I haven't trusted doctors in a long time. I will be on this theme every once in a while in these movies. I'm going to read the rest because I want to get it right. I'm not saying COVID is the same as the common cold or flu. In fact, it's no doubt a gain-of-function product that leaked from an unconscionable experiment in the Wuhan lab, and it is certainly more dangerous than the common cold. But what is more dangerous than COVID? feeding the fear of COVID by shoving tubes down people's throats, forcing them to get experimental medications, shutting down schools and places of work, and eliminating free speech. When someone is having a hard time breathing, except through their mouth, and you put them in the hospital and then shove a tube down their throat, so they've got these symptoms, they can't breathe through their nose, and you shove a tube down their throat, what's going to happen? The fear alone is enough to kill a lot of people, especially if they're unhealthy already, obese, bad diet, unhealthy already. Covoodoo. This here's Professor UD Guru. Thanks for showing up. I'll see you in the next movie. Bye-bye.